Have you ever thought about how selfish we can be? Like, how selfish are you as an individual? What I mean by selfish is that everything has just got to be surrounded by you. You are the center of your world, of your universe, of your Milky Way, and everything's got to make your life better. That's selfish. And as I look into my life, I realize how selfish that I can be towards the people that are in my family, towards friends, towards people that I work with. That selfishness is a part of my negative human condition. Not just for me, but probably for you and the people that you know around you. There's probably people that you know right now that you can think in your head, man, those people are really selfish. And what you think about is that their way always is the only way. That from day one, it's just, what is it that I can do to get myself ahead, to get everything to work in my favor? One of the biggest ways to realize you're selfish is to get married. Now, I'm imagining most of you that are watching this right now aren't married, except for our leaders, but go back, if you think about it, when somebody comes into your life that is a stranger, they bring out your best and your worst. They show you the negative things that are in your life. So for example, I got married just a couple of years ago. And in that process, I started realizing how selfish I was, especially when we got married and we started living together in the same household. And all of a sudden, I couldn't watch the TV shows I wanted. I couldn't eat the food that I wanted. I couldn't just sleep all I wanted. I had to give up some of the things that I loved in order for this person to feel like they were a part of my life. And I started to fight back against it. My wife loves going to the beach. She loves the beach. I hate the beach. I can't stand the beach. It is a place of sand and weird smells to me, but for her, it's a relaxing oasis where she can think. And so I actively fought against going to the beach on a regular basis. She would ask me, hey, do you want to go to the beach today? I'm like, no, I don't feel like it. What would you rather do? I'd rather sit on the couch and just play games. She hates that. But because I wanted to get my own way, I would complain and I would argue and I would fight and I would cause a ruckus. And at the end of the day, she's like, oh, you know what? I don't want to do anything. We'll just sit on the couch. And I lost points with her because of my selfishness. It hurt our relationship because I wasn't willing to look at her perspective, to even acquiesce or give in to her a little bit and just go like, no, I care about you too. I can go back and point more of my selfish habits out. The snacks we bought, the food we ate, where we went out to eat, what we considered fun, the games we would play. It was all things that made me happy. And that's the way we kind of built. Make yourself happy. Do the things that make you feel good at the expense of other people. I'll go back, and when I was in college and I lived with a bunch of my good friends in a dorm room or in an apartment-style building, and we would sit down and like, hey, what movie or what game are we gonna watch? And when it came to games, there was always the one guy who wanted to go outside and play a football, another one that wanted to go outside and throw a frisbee, another one that wanted to stay inside and play Madden, another one who wanted to stay in and play Call of Duty. And all of us were trying to figure out how to push buttons so we would get our way. Hey man, you know that if I play Call of Duty now, then we'll go outside and play football tomorrow. But in my mind, I know it's gonna rain tomorrow. I check the weather and I know my friend doesn't. So guess who wins? Call of Duty guy all the time. Selfishness. And it hurts our relationships and it strains things. And if you think about your own life, perhaps selfishness is something that reigns supreme. Whether you realize it or not, whether you are fully aware of it or not, I think when we start to investigate ourselves, we realize, man, we are really selfish. It is really all about us. You know, the success of social media and the online world is built around that. We like seeing and taking pictures of ourselves. I love it when people post photos and say, look at my friend, I miss this friend so much. And in that photo, they look great, but their friend has the worst look. They didn't care about how their friend looked at all in the photo. It really cared about themselves, even though the caption says, I miss my friend, or I have the greatest friend. See, that's the reality of the world that we've built in 2020. Where even when we think that we're pointing the attention at somebody else, it's really just all about us. And it doesn't matter how bad the other person looks. It doesn't matter about how the other person suffers, online or in real life. And in this discussion, as we're talking about how we function in the online world, whether you're in a Zoom class for school or you're on Snapchat with friends, that there is a way that we can function as Christians that would make every interaction better, every interaction more pleasant. That when we enter a space, whether it is online or in person, things change for the positive. And so the writer of Philippians says this in chapter 2. He says, if then there is any encouragement in Christ, if any consolation in love, if any fellowship with the Spirit, if any affection, complete by thinking the same way, having the same love, united in spirit, intent on one purpose. Here is that purpose. Do nothing out of selfish ambition or conceit, but in humility considers others more important than yourself. Wow. See, if you're going to take that verse into action, then when you celebrate that friend, it doesn't matter what you look like in the photo because you're trying to make them look good. And that's a shock to us because when we look at a photo, it's really just all about how we look. But what happens if we say, hey, you know what? It's how that person looks that's more important than me. It's how that person is perceived that is more important than myself. That would be a drastic change in how our entire world functioned. Even though these words were written thousands of years ago, it is still applicable today as it was back then. That we are selfish people that need to think selflessly. What would happen if you started seeking the other person, seeing the other person as more important than yourself? It goes on and it says this: everyone should look out not only for his own interests, but the interests of others. Guys, as we walk into this world where we are faced with being online all the time, what I think that happens is the farther we get away from people, the more selfish we get. Here's what I mean. When you are going to school and you're out and about with your friends, you're really considering, hey, let's all be happy. So let's do things for each other that would make our relationship great. But now that we're far away from other people, now that we're not seeing those people on a regular basis, now that the most that we see is our room and our house, we're trying to create this world that feels good to us. My room has to be in a certain way. Nobody is allowed in. I do things on my own time. I wake up at 3, I go to sleep at 4 a.m. That is my balance. Nobody touched that balance. And so we start building this world around us that is so much built around what we desire, what we find happy, that we forget that the more we go into that selfish spiral, it's like going down the drain. And it's really hard to come out. Where months from now, you're gonna lift your head above the water and go, oh, I'm back again. And when you try to have a relationship, you'll have a hard time doing things other people's way. Doing things the way other people would like it. Helping other people have a great life, to look after the interest of another person. And so the process of us getting ready for that time is to start being that person right now. To start looking for the interest of others before our own right now. And in this conversation, my question to you is, what kind of person are you? What kind of person are you becoming? Are you becoming a person that it's so clear that it's all about you and it's getting more like that day in and day out, more and more? Or are you fighting to be selfless? And that's the word, it's fight. It's not natural. You've got to go after it. You've got to fight for it. You've got to dig your heels in and say, no, I will not do things only my way. And so for the brother or sister that I don't get along with, I'm going to do things for them. For the mom that doesn't get me, I'm going to go out of my way to get them. For the neighbor that annoys me, I'm going to do things for them. For that kid down the street that I am annoyed with to no end, I'm gonna try to make peace with them. For that person online that is speaking behind my back, I'm going to show them love, to be selfless and to be fight for it because we want a better world. We want God's love to infiltrate everything. And his main tool to make that happen is not randomness, but it is our selfless acts, our looking up for other people before ourselves. So what kind of person are you gonna be? I hope you'll meet us at the park tomorrow as we talk about this. I'm sure we'll have a lot of laughs about the stupid things we've done that have been really, really selfish and how we wish we could take those back. But the reality is that there's also people we've hurt because we've been so selfish. And maybe out of the lessons of hurt, and more so out of the instruction of Jesus, we can start making a better world, not for ourselves, but for others, by digging our heels in and fighting to be selfless.